When I was a little girl, I felt like a superhero inside here. And I felt so locked up that when I left my own home, I couldn't expose that part of myself. I couldn't be that part of myself. I felt so locked up. It was excruciating. My sister and I would come home after being super, super shy at school, and we'd come home to our room and we'd sing and we'd dance, and it was euphoria. And one day came where the two contrasts of living two different ways had to go. I want to tell you that story today, and today we're breaking free. Hey guys, this is Rebecca Abraxas. I'm coming to you au natural today. No makeup, right after my workout. Just felt like the right time to do it. So how are you today? Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna dive deep to rise high, breaking free. This is the year to do it. Do you feel the quickening? Do you feel the quickening of the contrast getting more and more painful? The contrast being that part of you that feels locked away and that you only allow yourself to be this much of yourself? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So this happened to me in my teens. You know, Anise Nin has that quote. What is it? What is it? And the day came when being tight in a bud was more painful than it was to blossom. And that is what's happening right now. That's what happened to me a long time ago. And then it keeps happening, right? Each in increments throughout our lives as we keep expanding and becoming butterflies. But I remember very vividly that time when it was just like, no more. I've always been called to use my voice and sing, yet I always had this shyness, and I always had this, just felt like I was behind this cage. Well, there was this time in my teens where people were trying out to be in the play, and I decided to do it. I decided to go for the audition, and we had to go in there and we had to sing a happy birthday. And I remember just trembling, but I got in there and I was just like, there was this moment that my spirit was like, no more. I remember, I can feel it right now. It was just, gosh, it was such a powerful moment in my life. No more, no more. And my spirit was like, just basically kicked my butt energetically into that room. And I had to sing happy birthday to someone playing the piano. And I'd never been accompanied before. It was so uncomfortable. Well, I made it to the next round, and so I had to get a song, and I sang Dinah. And I remember giving the music to the piano player. My school principal was there, who was a nun. And she was sitting there in her little outfit, and was really small. And I remember just being like, okay, here I go. And the spirit inside me blasted through the cage, and I sang, Dinah, is there anyone finer in the state of Carolina? If there isn't, you know her, show her to me in the eyes of Dinah Lee. Anyway, I went on, and I was trembling, but I sang it anyway. And I remember afterwards the principal standing up and clapping and saying, Rebecca, I had no idea you had such a big voice inside of you. Is that how you're feeling right now? Do you feel your superhero self banging at the door of your heart saying, let me out? There's a quickening, guys. There's a quickening happening during this 2020. Different timelines are happening. There's vibrational shifting happening all over the place. It's crazy. It's the time of the great awakening. Will you let yourself out of the box? Will you let yourself out of the cage? I promise you, it is worth it. It's a little wobbly. It's a little uncomfortable at first. And sometimes you go through these emotional roller coasters to get to the other side where the emotions start to neutralize and you start to have this sense of trust and surrender. It's like a great big Nestle's plunge into the wave of the universe. Oh my gosh, I used to be so worrisome, so fearful. And it's hard because family knows you a certain way, and so when you meet up with family, they're gonna kind of treat you like you're still those things. So I still have times when I'm around family members, and they still try to treat me like that worrisome, fearful little girl, and I am a very matured woman. I'm 49 years old, so I feel like I've changed a little bit. And especially with the worry and the fear part, things have really shifted, especially these past 2 years. It's crazy the awakening trajectory that's happened with just that surrender and trust. Now, for me, a big thing is financial security. That is kind of one of my like hook-ins to the matrix, right? To 3D reality is that security. And you know what? I've had to take a real good look at this the past few years and really unhook, and let the balloon of 3D reality float away. I've had to unhook. Where do you need to unhook? Where is your hook? Is it family? Is it relationship? Is the 9 to 5 job? Is it financial stuff? Is it, are you really hooked into your own emotions, right? Where do you want to unhook and let that float away? And then unlock the cage and step on out. It is time, beautiful people. And your thoughts and emotions are your barometers. You know what else I really like to use as a barometer is my voice. I really like to use my voice as a barometer to see where I am holding back, where I still have the vibration of certain thoughts and feelings that are really limiting me, that are the bars literally of the cage, right? So, where are you? What are those thoughts and feelings and emotions? And you probably have one person or a few people in your life that trigger it. For me, for us right now, it's our 16-year-old. Bless his soul. He is that for me. Lately, it's just I get hooked in. And I just give over all control to my 16-year-old. And I've been really watching this, especially the past few days, of where I'm hooked in to mothering him and playing that role, and the beliefs and the right and wrong and the guilty mother type syndrome. And I'm been doing a lot of work just the past 24 hours of unhooking from that paradigm. And already I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling lighter. So as we unhook, that floats away. And guess what? We get to get lighter. We float away too. So free yourself, people. Free yourself from your emotions and your belief systems that are all limiting you. So we have a thought, and we think it more and more often, and that becomes a belief system. And when we live from those belief systems, that's when the emotions kind of play. Okay, the emotions kind of play in when we are not living from something that's we're making really significant. They also come in to let us know that we're not in our infinite beingness. We're in worry and fear. And when we're there, it's kind of like a big like red alert, or kind of like the little E light that goes on in our gas tank. It says, hey, the tank's empty. It's kind of like that. Like our emotions are like, hey, your spiritual connection tank is empty. Like, where are you going here? And so I love emotions for that reason. It really lets us know where we are with our vibration and our focus. Everything's a focus in this kind of quantum reality. Where you put your focus and your flashlight is kind of where things are going to amp up. And if I start really telling the story of having a hard time parenting my 16-year-old, guess what happens? I've noticed this again and again and again. It amps up. The conflict in that area amps up the more I tell the story. And the more I go into like happy and gratitude pages and write the as if story, and write a whole different script for my life, it really starts to change. So, and then I get challenged again. And the universe is like, okay, here it is again. What are you going to do? So it's very interesting. So I mentioned that I use my voice as a barometer too. Not only can we witness our emotions and our thoughts, but we also get to witness our voice. And I love this work. I call it what is it called? Vocal reflection training. And what this does is I help people hear the frequencies in their voice, and the frequencies that are there, that are active, kind of replicate, or the frequency of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, trauma, drama. Everything has a frequency. And so you can tell where the flashlight is. You can tell what's active in your subconscious by just listening to the vibe of your voice, by the frequency of your voice. And this isn't about judging your voice, of how pretty it is or not. It has to do with just deeply receiving your own sound and deeply listening and creating awareness from there. Now you can do this. You just kind of can om and just listen, and then awareness comes. It's pretty cool. I'll tell you an example. Sometimes outwardly we can say, I'm going to be positive today, right? So you can, I'm in a good mood, I'm positive, right? And then all of a sudden, this happened to me last year. I started to om. I was like in that positive state because I try to be a positive person. And I was driving home from the store and I started to om. And I was aware that there was something else active in my vibration. And it wasn't just positive. So I kept oming, and there was kind of like an underlying sadness. There was an underlying frequency of just a low-grade grief and sadness. So I kept oming, and I was very present with it. And I kept oming, and I kept oming until it just worked itself out, and I was starting to hear a different frequency, the frequency that actually matched where I really wanted to be, in my positive mood. So sometimes just oming without going to the story of, the past childhood thing that made me sad. I didn't revisit the story. Sometimes that's required, but sometimes that reactivates trauma. And so the idea is to just move the energy, get the frequency shifting. And it's kind of like a old new age way that we have to process every frequency as emotions. We have to process our emotions. A lot of people process emotions by going back to the story. And actually what we're finding out is that kind of work can actually re-traumatize and reactivate the frequency in your subconscious and in your conscious. So how about we don't reactivate trauma? So just om, see what you're aware of, keep oming until the frequency just feels a little lighter and lighter. And it's almost like you can do that every day and just let it out. Just let the frequency move. So I'm a strong proponent of just everything's frequency. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, stories, drama, trauma, like everything. Everything is a frequency of energy, and energy wants to be in motion. And when we densify things or slow it down, that's when things get uncomfortable. So how do we keep this real flowing motion of energy going? And when we keep it going, it doesn't solidify and densify in the body, because our thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we think over and over and play with over and over, and they get deeply rooted into our subconscious, they actually get stuck in the tissues of the body. The body doesn't have a point of view around it, but the body does collect the dense frequencies in it. And so that's where yoga, like hatha yoga, really is really powerful. because you can do these poses and get really conscious about how you're doing them and where the resistance is, where the tightness is, and you start to really stretch and kind of knock on the door of that resistance and tightness. And there's times on my yoga mat that I have just bawled and bawled, and sometimes there's just no story. It's just movement of energy. It's moving the density, and the energy has a path to flow again. And your breathing of the prana helps that, and your postures help that. And when you start doing that, you start releasing the density out of your body. You get the energy flowing again. And another piece is that you start to create a very strong witness side of yourself. The witness part that is observing the body letting go, observing maybe the thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, stories, and contracts that were made to hold this pattern, and you get to release it out. So what is this video about today? It's about getting more free. It's about 2020, the Great Awakening. And if you are feeling the quickening of wanting something different, of pulling those bars out of the way so you can get out of the box, you can get out of the cage, so you can really blossom. Beautiful being. If you feel the quickening, it is time. So get on a yoga mat, get into nature, do some oming, grow your awareness, expand your vibration. It is time, beautiful person. And thank you so much for taking the time to commune with me today. If you have any questions, if you are like, yes, I am feeling the quickening, now what? Put it in the comments. I'd be happy to open up the dialogue with the comments. I have a huge amount of experience with yoga and singing practice and just awakening tools. So if you could just use a little head start, just put in the comments, head start, give me a heads up. And also, I have a free discovery call if you want to get on the phone with me and talk about some of these quickening, awakening signs that are happening for you and would like just a little guidance on that. And thank you so much, beautiful people. Namaste. Be sure to subscribe to the High Vibe Tribe and click the bell. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.